I'm in southern Spain, in the usual place. It's about 7:20 in the morning. The sun has not yet peeped up over the mountains. I'm up early because I want to get out in the cool of the morning and pick some figs. So there are fig and olive and almond trees all the way up this valley. So yeah, this is a fig tree here. And I can actually see ripe figs on it. There's another one there, another one further up. In fact, there are fig trees all over the place up here. These are very much cultivated. These fig trees belong to someone, and they are cultivated with the expectation that the owner can come along and pick figs. So I'm going to leave these alone, and I'm going to go further afield across there onto the sort of more rough ground. Technically, everything we're going to look at today does belong to someone, because the land belongs to different people. But the point is, I'm going to try to find some fig trees that are wild growing, that nobody particularly has any expectation of picking figs from, so nobody's cultivating them. And I'm going to pick some, just a handful of figs from that. Now, I said something about the cool of the morning. Current temperature is about 25 degrees. It's been a cool night, comparatively speaking. The daytime temperature today is set to get up to mid to high 30s. It's the beginning of August. As you can see, the weather has been quite dry and hot. There's a lot of things are really dried up to a crisp. A lot of the vegetation is very dry. There have been wildfires in this region, so I'm definitely not climbing a hill, because becoming trapped at the top of a hill with a wildfire burning up the sides is a risk I don't choose to court. Last time I was out here a couple of weeks ago, actually, we've been out here in Spain several times due to family emergencies, but last time I was out here a couple of weeks ago, there was a wildfire behind the campsite in the hills up here, up actually near the Fuente de la Alameda that I've walked to before, and we were on kind of evacuation alert for the morning, but the bomberos did a fantastic job and got it under control very quickly. Right, here's another fig tree, but again, this is looking quite cultivated. It's right on the track here, probably belongs to somebody, but we've got a good amount of lovely ripe figs on it. So anyway, I'm going to look for one that's a bit more wild growing than this, and we'll pick from that. And that's going to be a case of just wandering across the fields here. I mean, the chances are this one's probably not planted. It probably has just grown from a seed from a fruit that's been dropped here by an animal, a bird probably. The sun has just made an appearance. I've seen lots of rabbits and various birds, partridges. It is very much grasshopper time. This grasshopper is the Mediterranean splendid grasshopper that we're seeing jumping about here. So here's another fig tree, somewhat off the beaten track. Oh, grasshoppers. As I say, almost certainly belongs to somebody, but far enough off the beaten track that probably nobody cares. However, the figs on this one aren't quite ripe. There are figs there. I see them. Well, actually, they may be ripe. This might be a variety that ripens yellow rather than purple. So anyway, I'm not going to pick from here. We'll keep on looking. Invertebrate friend, these big black beetles Quite a common sight this early in the morning. Still walking about, crossing the path, while the temperature is relatively cool. When things warm up, they'll just take shelter underneath the vegetation or rocks or whatever. I don't know what this one's doing. I think it's actually getting some moisture out of the soil here or something. It's not rolling dung or anything like that. It's not a dung beetle, I don't think. But yeah, there's a slightly damp patch of soil here. I don't know if it's that particular species of beetle, but I think some beetles stand with their rear end elevated against the oncoming breeze, and dew condenses on the underside of their body and they drink that. So it could be doing that. Anyway, I've walked for about half an hour now. The sun is about 2 fingers above the tops of the mountains. I've got to find a fig tree to pick because it's going to start getting warm fairly soon. One plant that is still green is this fennel. There's lots of fennel all over the hillsides. It's still in full flower. This is a form that doesn't seem to produce an awful lot of leaf. I think most of its photosynthesis at this stage is going on in the stems. But yeah, there we go. So we got fennel. These little flowers would be edible, and the undeveloped seeds would be edible as well. Well, and the ripe seeds, but the undeveloped seeds are particularly sweet and aromatic. I'm not sure we're going to forage those today though. Okay, this one looks pretty good. It's on a bit of a slope, so it's a bit difficult to get to. My goodness, look at all the... Well, I want to call them woodlice, but they're isopods. They look like woodlice, but I don't know that we'd call them woodlice in this particular context. Isopod crustaceans. Anyway, we're not here to look at isopods. We're here to pick a fig or two. These seem quite firm, and I do wonder if they're a bit underripe or perhaps dried out. There's one that looks nicely ripe. Let's just open that up and see what's inside. Well, that looks pretty good to me, but the proof of the pudding is in the eating. That's lovely. Beautifully ripe, really sweet, quite delicious. Okay, now this is filled with little gritty seeds, which means it has been pollinated, which means it is not a parthenocarpic variety of fig. The pollination of fig flowers, which are inside this fig structure, is quite an interesting little story. It involves fig wasps that live their entire life cycle inside the fig, or at least the male ones do, I think, and then die inside there and are absorbed and digested by the fig plant. So if you're squeamish about that, then either don't eat figs or seek out the parthenocarpic varieties, which don't require pollination and don't have any of that detail to their story. Anyway, I'm going to pick, I don't know, about a dozen figs off this plant. We'll get them back to Casita Gambita and see what we can do with them. Okay, so I've got my lovely fresh foraged figs, which I've given a good wash. I'm going to do something really obvious with them, which is a fig tart, a fig and cheese and cured meat tart, with a few little deviations from standard, I think. I've got some ready-made puff pastry here. That looks pretty good. So I'm going to leave it on its own paper, slide it onto this tray, and actually just about fits. And that does give us a little lip at the edges, which is unintentional, but I'll take it. And then I'm just going to score around here. So just going to score there, and there, and there, like that. And that will just allow this edge of the pastry to puff up if the middle's pressed down by all the stuff we're going to put on there. So in addition to the lovely figs, we've got some cheese. We've got 3 different cheeses, and I've got some sobrasada. This is left over from a different video where we tried to make savoury donuts, but there's about half a pack of this, and I think this will be quite nice in here. So we'll get some, I don't know if I'll bother doing, should I do little quenelles, or should I just tear off little bits of this actually and scatter it over the top of the pastry, if it will tear. just distribute little chunks of this stuff over the crust. So this sobrasada is like a cured pork sausage, but the texture is really soft and almost spreadable. So you can just eat it as is, you know, spread on a bit of bread or toast or something, or you can cook with it, which is what we're doing today. That's probably about enough of that. And then these figs, I'll just cut the top off and I'm going to quarter them. Look at that, it's beautiful. And these are going to go again, just kind of randomly across the top. Some of them are very ripe. Okay, I'm going to put the oven on to preheat now. I don't know when to stop doing this, but I'm going to be pretty generous with these figs because I've got enough of them to do that. I suppose I'm just going to make sure that every little space in between two bits of sausage is filled with a bit of fig. That seems like a plan. Well, that's a really ripe one. I think we're getting there now. So I think this could be the last one. Now I've got 3 cheeses. I've got some queso fresco, which is just like a very young pressed white cheese, pretty much like cottage cheese. And I think I'll just get that out and break off pieces and scatter them on there. So that's one of the cheeses. I've got some sheep's cheese. Oh, it's a smoked sheep's cheese. Yeah, ahumado. It's a smoked cheese. That was not, I didn't actually notice that when I was buying it. Just going to have a taste of that actually. Oh, that's good. That's a really nice cheese. So it's got a little bit of a tang to it, but also the smokiness is fantastic. And I think that will nicely work with the smokiness of the sobrasada. So just cutting chunks of this cheese. Right, that's now going to go in the oven, 180 degrees Celsius for probably 25 minutes until the puff pastry is puffed and those ingredients have baked down a little bit. Alrighty then, how about that? Now that's going to have to sit for a little bit before we can try to cut that up. And it has turned into a kind of melted gooey filling, which is absolutely fine by me. And so my third cheese, Roquefort, I didn't want to put this on at the start because I didn't want to just burn it. So we're going to have some little pieces of Roquefort, which is quite a strong flavoured blue salty cheese. Just crumble some little pieces of that on the top. Hopefully not all in one place. And the heat of this tart is just going to allow this cheese to just melt in and almost become like a seasoning on top. Now I haven't forgotten seasoning, but bearing in mind that the cheese that's gone in here and the sausage is quite salty. So I'm only going to season this with pepper because the salt is provided by the cheese. In the event people find they want additional salt, it'll be at the table. Now I think this needs something a little bit acidic just to lift it. And so I was going to just squeeze a bit of lime juice over the top, but I'm not going to do that just in case people don't want it. So I'm going to cut up a lime into wedges and we'll serve it at the table with wedges of lime. Okay, so here we go. Wild fig and 3 cheese tart.
Looks amazing.
Right, cheers everyone.
Cheers. Cheers.
Right, so, yes, so this has got wild figs, or foraged figs, Spanish sausage sobrasada, and 3 cheeses.
Hot.
Hot. I am happy with that. The sweetness of the figs is a lovely foil for the tangy sharpness of the blue cheese. I am going to just try it with a little squeeze of lime because I just have a feeling about that. So we'll see if my instincts are on any kind of track. I quite like that the filling's gone all kind of gooey and like a pie filling, really.
That is lush.
And I think the lime juice works.
Yeah.
So there we go. That was today's delicious adventure. with wild foraged figs. I hope that's been interesting. Thanks for watching, and I hope to see you again soon.